Hey, Maven Nation, welcome to another episode. My guest today is sharing how she has remained in the tech space for 30 years. 30. We're not talking about age. Yes, she started when she was 2, but she's really sharing with us some really great strategies on how she has remained relevant in that industry as a minority woman, as well as how she stayed so really viable to her client base. And she's sharing ways for you to use technology to also grow your business. Technology is not just for the big Fortune 500 companies and the huge chains. It's for you as a small business owner or even a solopreneur. Tune into this episode and get what you need. Hey, Maven Nation, welcome to another episode of Success with Saneness, which is your bi-weekly dose of solution-inspired stories to help you maintain or gain, whichever side you're on, your well-being. So my guest today is not only someone we call the high-tech Maven, she is a personal friend. And listen, she is the friend that if I was ever in distress, she'd have called. If my husband out of town, she's it. She's my number one speed dial. This young woman has been in this tech space way before it was popular. 30 years she just celebrated, which means she started when she was 2, because we're not talking about ages. We're just talking about experience. But has been in this technology space, and really just my being around her and having her be a good friend and the conversations we have has really taught me a lot about being keen to what technology you're using, why are you using it, what type of data is it gathering? I never really paid attention to that until having these conversations with Miss Kimberly Penn, the high-tech Maven. And so now, I can't just be installing stuff on my computer. I'm like, well, what that privacy policy say? And all of the things. But I really credit that to her as to being aware of not just, we see something as cute as fun, and then you just download it and go about your business, and the people surfing all through your computer data. And listen, it's too much. Now I'm a good skeptic. I'm like, what would this policy say? So Kimberly, welcome to the show, to Maven Nation. They are familiar with you. You guys definitely interact. Introduce yourself a little bit more, and how at the age of 2, we're going to go with that story. You started in technology and have grown and remained viable to your clients 30 years later.
Howdy. I'm very excited to be talking to Maven Nation, Kimberly Penn, and also dear friend to Miara. So thank you for having me. I'm here.
Absolutely.
Who am I? I would say I'm the granddaughter of Maddie Warner, who was a huge influence. Most of my friends and clients know her, even though she passed on a long time ago. But I like to say that I am her dream come true. Right. And hopefully in all the good ways, of course.
Yes.
Some of the things that I have my footprint or handprint in, of course, technology. I focus in on cybersecurity. I've moved into AI. I've moved into other parts of risk mitigation very successfully, which is what a big part of my background is. I'm in the UAS, which is just a fancy word for drones. Space. I teach as a professor in behavioral sciences and technology courses, as well as leadership and other pieces. But I am very fortunate to kind of be able to do whatever I'd like to do. Officially, I retired about 10 years ago, but life is too short to sit around and not be productive and contributing right to society in ways that I think I look to offer. So.
I love that. All of the different hats, a facilitator, a adjunct professor, drones, AI, like all of the things. Listen, you have definitely brought my knowledge up to speed in a lot of ways. Again, I think oftentimes small business owners or solopreneurs think, oh, all of that stuff, that technology stuff is for the big boys, for the big companies. And how are some ways that small business owners can keep this technology thing in front of them and not get so overwhelmed with, technology is moving so fast. There's something new all the time. What are some of the things they should be looking really to keep their eyes on as far as AI? Let's just start with AI because that's a big popular topic right now. And, it's so popular right now, you would think that it's brand new. But wow, AI has been around for a good while. It's just becoming more popular now. But how can small businesses or solopreneurs, medium-sized businesses use things like AI? And then we'll talk about risk mitigation. How can they use those things in their business to really help them continue to thrive? Before you answer that, let me add this. One of the things that I admire about you is that you're always learning. Y'all, Kimberly would send me a screenshot of some class she in. I'd be like, girl, she's always learning. But because your business is in the technology space, you have to stay ahead of that because your clients, they don't want to dig in and learn all of that. They're expecting you to help them kind of move through this space. So talk to us a little bit about that, continuing to learn, and how can small businesses use these things to their benefit and not be so afraid of this technology?
One thing I would say is for a small business to maybe even consider shifting the language a little bit and move over to words or phrases like boutique, so that you're thinking of not only your business today, but what it will look like in the future. And I don't like the word small, but I do understand, how it's used in small business phrase. You could use technology to leverage, whereas before you may need 4 or 5 people to do a particular task or work on a particular project. Now you can use technology to not only leverage the human resource parts or some other administrative or technical pieces, but then that allows you to compete with those mid-sized businesses and also to have professional relationships with enterprise-sized organizations because you're able to really contribute to those projects that maybe at one point you would not be able to bid or participate in. You can use technology, of course, to scale so that if you want to have a location in Houston, Texas, which is, of course, where we are, we understand that Maven Nation's all over the country, and I would even imagine all over the globe at some point here. You can have locations or footprint virtually by using technology in other places, and I find that exciting. AI, I use it for some security reasons, but I have recently, super excited have started using AI as part of my meeting software. So I use Zoom and Teams and WebEx and all these products that, almost all of us have the ability to use. And I'm a horrible typer. I still write with paper and pen, folks. So I don't play around. I like my paper. I love technology. I have like 3 screens in front of me right now, but I still use paper and pen. That's challenging. My handwriting is horrible. My typing is even worse. So recently I started using an AI tool that integrates into my meeting software. And when something is on my calendar, then the AI assistant appears in my meeting, like in terms of they're being invited as well. I can tell them, no, I don't want you to come, or yes, I want you to come. But here's what it does. As soon as the meeting closes, it creates a transcript of my entire meeting, all of the speakers. So if I have 2 people, such as today, or if I had 10 people, it's going to create the entire transcription, typed, probably much more grammatically accurate than what I'm able to do with, again, my incredibly slow typing speed. And I can tell it to send it to everyone. And so within minutes of disconnecting from a meeting, everyone has a summary as to what we've talked about and what they've either agreed to, whatever that might be. And again, it's not replacing what we need to have as milestones or project tasks, but it allows us to all stay on the same page. And just one last thing about what did I write about? What did I say? If you're looking at notes 2 or 3 days later, you have that there. I think that's pretty amazing, right? So I don't have to have my EA, my executive assistant, spending time doing transcription stuff. She's way smarter and works so much more efficiently than I do. So that way she's able to concentrate on those tasks that are better suited for her. And then I don't have to spend time. I like to learn, but I don't want to learn things such as typing. I should have learned that 40 years ago when I was 2.
Right. Yes. When you were 2. Yes. Keeping the
yeah,
age right.
I need to say 30 because I already told off on myself. But yes, so you can use technology to leverage, to scale, and to maybe venture off into some areas that you may not have um, at another point in time. And a lot of times, because you may be a boutique or a small size business, you probably are eligible to use so many tools at no additional charge because you don't have 15, 20, 50, 100 users, which would then kick you off into another tier, often with technology companies where you may need to have to pay. So definitely look at the use of tech. The best way to learn about technology in terms of these types of apps, go and get you a fantastic college intern, pay them, because it should be unethical to not pay interns, and have them keep up with all the types of apps that they're aware of that they use either in their class settings, some of their business classes, and so forth, and let them introduce some of those things to you, or just tell them to go on an e-hunt, as I like to call it. I need this done. How do I use technology? And let them go find some fantastic applications that will allow you to solve a problem that you may have within your organization.
Listen, those are some amazing nuggets just right there. I mean, the assistant, that's capturing the notes for you, especially for those of us that wear multiple hats, right? We might have 3 or 4 different meetings in a day that talk about 3 or 4 different things. So going back a week and trying to prep for the next round of that meeting, and you're like, now what notes was that? Where did I put them? Where did I say that piece of technology? I think oftentimes the public thinks of AI, they think of, the robotic police looking dogs that are going to, help. We think of all of these extreme uses of AI or robots, that are taking over the world, right? But AI is it's just right there for us to tap into and use into our businesses every day. And I never even thought about the college interns and using them to stay abreast and help you just kind of see what's out there and what can you use. Because again, technology is improving at such a rapid pace that if that's not kind of your sweet spot, the thing you love, you're probably not going to be able to just keep up with everything that's going on. So like you said, yes, paid intern, y'all. Pay the young people. Or it could be an older person, but pay your interns. That helps them also learn and develop. And then it helps you add things to your business that you might not have time to go and research and figure out what it is. And again, I concur on the low cost of technology, especially if you are, as you say, a boutique firm or solopreneur. Most of the time, a lot of these tools are free or free for a period. So you can check it out and see, now that's a little bit more cumbersome than I want. I don't like that tool. Then you go try another one. But this segment, I want boutique business owners to understand you cannot be afraid of technology. You've got to embrace this and figure out how it's going to help you scale, grow your business, and become more efficient without necessarily adding a bunch of overhead to your business that you just might not be able to afford. Adding 2 or 3 humans versus adding a piece of technology could potentially allow you to scale in something. Why is this technology world something that has piqued your interest for so long? What makes you continue to dig into these classes and learn, and then also be a brilliant teacher to those as an adjunct about this and the drones? Like, I'd never even heard about drones until having these conversations with you. And now I'm always telling people about drones, like, that's a drone and you should learn about drones and get your child to learn about drones. So what has piqued your interest all these years around this technology space?
I've been very curious for a very long time. And I think children, if I can come to childhood, are perfect scientists, perfect engineers, artists, Olympians, all of these things. And fortunately for me, some of my education was in another country where identifying what your brain is mapped to do occurs at a young age and elementary school. right? So with that being said, it was determined, right? From that
Okay.
I was really geared towards computer science or engineering pieces. And so that's where school started heading for me. And that made sense to me, even though I didn't always understand what that was. But then
Right.
my home life was, although a bit chaotic, I found that besides reading, which I try and read about 100 books a year to keep my brain going. Also, I
Mm-hmm.
used to take my mother's VCR apart, her TV. I'm talking about back when VCRs were 800-900 bucks, and they were these big giant pieces of equipment. And
Now, were they broken as the reason why
no,
you were taking the?
no, no,
Okay,
no,
just
they
the
weren't broken at
curiosity.
all. Yeah, and here's the thing: she wouldn't have thought that was quite funny. She wouldn't have thought
Well,
that
no,
STEM curious. She would have been like, you know what, that's your tail right there.
you
And so,
bad, you bad.
yeah, I also had to put these things back together and having
Okay,
them working by the time she got home from work, for example. So time sensitive and maybe some level of risk mitigation was already at play. Maybe to aware of some of my crazy childhood stories as well. I've always been in my own lane, but technology, um, again, using the language that I know today, even as a child, which was quite a long time ago, I always felt like things were changing quite a
okay,
bit. And it was just one of those fields where even in, like elementary school or these kinds of things, all teachers couldn't answer all questions. And so I thought that
right,
was something very unique.
okay,
Science, you can calculate and determine some things.
right.
Math is just another language.
Mm-hmm.
I never understand why people are nervous about math. It's just challenging as it is to learn another language. That's what math is. Reading, allows you to kind of go wherever you'd like to go. But I think that science, in terms of when we look at technology, is ever growing, ever changing. What I knew 5 years ago has certainly helped me be a better
Right.
technologist, but it's not applicable. The operating systems, hardware, printers, maybe printers, that would be about it. Phones, all these things have
Right.
changed very quickly, right? So even if I do this, if I may, so here's an iPhone 1,
Mm-hmm.
I still use it, right? I use
Oh
it for
wow.
some specific needs, not for cell phone, right?
Okay.
And we got this one. Look at the size of that, right? How
Yeah.
come, how come it was small and it got big? And then, of course, this is the phone that I use today. And I say all this to say that the computers and mainframes and things that I worked on once upon a time did not even calculate as quickly, didn't have
Right.
as much storage or hardware space, wasn't in color. All the things that we
Mm-hmm.
have on these smartphones, which are 800-900 bucks, but these were $3-4 million computer systems
Wow.
at one point, and even a calculator today would be able to calculate and process, as maybe is a better phrase, more. And so learning the differences between things, I think it was something I was able to tap into at a young age because I didn't like people telling me what to do. I really wanted to figure out and learn things as
Okay.
much as possible on my own. That just has always been, I think, the foundation for tech. If you don't want to learn all the time, you don't want to get
Yeah.
either some certifications or
Mm-hmm.
some continuing education or whatever that is to keep you fresh, then you're probably gonna time yourself out pretty quickly in this field overall.
I love that you went back and talked about your childhood because, of course, we've talked about your stories of getting on the train in Germany and going to the library all day. What? I was like, who does that? But Kimberly does. But really, when we think about so many of the things we do today, really were cultivated in our childhood. I remember some things that I didn't remember, but obviously I was telling people when I was younger that I wanted to be a motivational speaker and all of these things. I didn't remember saying that, but here it is. Those are the things that I do today. And I think the technology, there are kids just like you today that are very curious. They love taking things apart and putting them back together and learning why something works the way that it does. So around this early childhood, junior high, even, high school, what are some things that parents or guardians can do to really look for that type of curiosity in their child and how do they cultivate that in kids at an early age? And I want to say this, the reason we know that's so important is because when we have UX designers and AI coders and these things, if we don't have people of minority representing our viewpoints and things, those types of things never get coded into these systems, because if a person doesn't know that experience, they probably can't or don't even think about writing that in. So around this concept of cultivating these type of desires in young kids, why is it so important that minorities are well represented in this growing age of technology, and especially in the programming side? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's an excellent, question. I have a tech event outside of the pandemic every year, and one of the it's for K through maybe sophomore year of college, and so we've got
Okay.
all kind of kids and young people running around. But we also, over the years, have had more and more parent participation, and we have panels. But really, I think really cool stuff. Not sit up there and listen to a panel. Hopefully, you don't fall asleep.
Right.
But one of the panels that we have is how to raise a techie,
Oh,
right?
okay.
How to raise a techie. What we often find is even by the end of elementary school, and maybe if you're fortunate by the end of elementary school, your kids are working on assignments that you may not be very well versed in.
Mm-hmm.
I hear parents say they have new math, and I don't know what these kids are talking about, and the teacher wants them to show their work in a way very different from
Mm-hmm.
how we may have learned different types of mathematical problems. But I think that there is an actual science to raising a techie. It doesn't mean that you have to be a techie.
Okay.
And even with some of our parents who, maybe they didn't go as far as they would have liked to under the best circumstances in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can find support typically through your school, but if not,
Okay.
maybe some folks that you work with. You got an IT department, go and ask somebody in the IT department, would you be interested in talking to my kids or the kids on our block about what you
Okay.
do? Because it seems so mysterious, this whole techie thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You just wear a backpack and maybe you make a bunch of money, but like, what do you really do, right? And so finding opportunities for your kiddos to be really hands-on, allowing your kids at home to break things, or
Mm-hmm.
giving them things that are broken, whether you find it
Mm-hmm.
at a yard sale, side of the road, put some Lysol on it, right?
Right.
We all have made it through a
Right.
pandemic. I think we could take some germs from, some sitting on the side of the road,
Right.
and let them explore. Kids today have so much more access to information, but not necessarily knowledge. Let me say that again.
Okay.
They have
Okay.
access to a lot of information, Google,
Mm-hmm.
and all these pieces, but that doesn't equate to knowledge. And so, whatever life skills you have as a parent, an aunt, a godparent, teaching them how to convert that into knowledge is something that it doesn't have to be unique to a particular field. Actually, the amount of information I think young people have can be quite overwhelming. And so
Right.
that part you've got to tap into. I think it's important to tell young people that the area or the profession that you're interested in or the industry that you're interested in does not mean that you're going to earn an A in all of those classes. It may be the
Okay.
hardest earned B's or C's that you have ever gotten if you want to go into programming or software development, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Okay, that
Okay.
doesn't, an A doesn't mean that that's exactly the field that you should be going into, right? So I think that's something to take into mind because we do need to have young people involved, and particularly of the global majority or black and brown kids here in the United States, for example, because we are already seeing the bias in programming. Here's an example. Um, I have in my home here in Houston hands-free flushable toilets. Okay,
Okay.
and you have to do your hand over the sensor, right?
Okay.
So the sensor works great. It'll fail every couple years. It's a real easy Kohler thing to replace. Well, then recently I moved over to a sink piece that has much better sensors than this very unsophisticated on and off that was previously used. Now that I'm using this sink that has to do with water, these
Okay.
sensors actually are looking more at your hand. And as a
Okay.
result, depending on the shade of your skin, the sensors
Mm-hmm.
are not picking up. For some
Oh,
people,
wow.
darker skinned people, for example, more so than lighter skinned people. That was pinpointed to a bias in the programming to where
Wow.
the, the hardware works the way it's supposed to, but the
Mm-hmm.
sensor and how it reads and decides on if there's actual, not just motion, but there's a hand
Mm-hmm.
underneath there and the skin read, so to speak, is a really big deal. Just think some companies
Right.
millions of dollars ultimately in this type of sensor and process to use in different types of hardware, not just this one sync piece. And it didn't work well for people of color,
Wow.
especially darker skinned people of color. And
Wow.
that would not have happened if we had
Mm-hmm.
more people of color at the programming table, not at the
Yeah.
consumer side, because that's after you
Right.
actually and put the product out
Yeah.
there and people are actually pretty pissed by then. But at the
Right.
development and software coding parts of things, where you have people that are all different types of shades, particularly black and brown, who say, when we're doing this part of the design, we need to make sure that it's mindful that, for example, black and brown people come in all shades,
Right.
completely light and bright, as my grandma used to say, all the way
Right.
to deep, rich chocolate skin tones and
Yeah.
stuff. That's the kind of stuff that somebody else would say, well, that's just a no brainer, right? But it's not.
Right.
When
Yeah.
our young people don't go into those fields, or I don't even want to put the burden on young people, but when they are
Right.
not mentored, when they are
Mm-hmm.
not welcomed, and where there is not great retention programs where they feel welcomed in these different companies, big and small,
Right.
and we have products that really do a disservice to the other pieces. And in AI, that's incredibly important, as well as any programming language, but certainly in artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is replacing what human beings can do. And right now, it's more of the low level task,
Right.
such as taking notes on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as it becomes more and more complicated and able to do more and more complicated tasks, if it's only the people whose tasks are replacing that don't look like maybe black and brown people, that's already a problem. It's not even going to be a problem. It is most
Right.
certainly a problem now. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense, and gave real life examples for it, because you think about the sensor in the sink. That's not even life threatening. But
Right.
what about the technology that is life threatening?
Sure.
I read an article, this has been a couple years ago, on the self-driving technology, how the programming says that if a car is self-driving and there's people in the crosswalk and this car has to make a decision on life saving,
Right.
who's most valued to save a life, if it got to hit someone,
Sure.
and it was programmed in that, let's say there's a white lady pushing a baby in a stroller versus a black male, or let's just make it even, a white male versus a black male.
Mm-hmm.
The bias was built in. You should hit the black male. You shouldn't hit the white male. And
Sure.
so these are the types of biases that are in our real world every day. So it makes sense that these are being built into technology, because that's what that person's experience is. So listen, that's why it's so important for black and brown people to be, like you said, not just on the consumer end of technology, but on the front end, on the building, the programming, the coding, so that when that is built into the program, we can say, well, wait, no, now why is that the case?
Sure.
Why was there a value higher assessed to the white male versus the black male? And there can at least be some conversations and some strip down of the bias for us to
Sure.
get to legitimate technology. I love that. And I love ways to help parents let their kids' curiosity be the lead.
Sure.
And that's probably, a lot of times you say, oh, that kid is bad, or he won't sit, or she won't sit still in class. And they're probably, to some degree, how many times have we heard they're bored? So fine, and that might parents listen. It's tough raising kids, right? But that might mean you have to do some work outside of the classroom to find that child what they need to let that curiosity bloom like a beautiful flower. They could be the next technology company that we really need to change something in the world. But if they never had an opportunity to follow that, then that would be a detriment to all of us, as well as to that individual kid's dreams and what they were really created to do.
Sure. Let us, as we have had opportunity, let us create opportunity so that we don't have dreams deferred. So,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that. And really, one of the boards that I sit on, that's geared toward young girls, we're always making sure that technology, knowledge, technology, jobs, all those things are in front of them. Because when you think about underserved communities, they just don't have a lot of access to know that. And you don't know what you don't know. So we have made a solid commitment to make sure that they at least know about technology fields and get to talk to men and women that are in those fields to see if their interest peak, because they might be thinking, oh, I want to be, something in the medical space, a nurse or something, which is perfectly fine. We need those amazing people. But what if they hear about aviation and drone jobs, drone skills in that space, and they are much more excited and willing to jump into that. So I think it's up to us to make sure that we are putting these opportunities for kids to at least think about it in front of them. And we're saying kids, but listen, there is no age that is too old. So folks our age, we're in our 30s and whatnot. Uh, that you can still, if you have come to a job that's laid you off or you're bored in that career path, look at some things in technology. There's lots of free training right now because there's such a demand for these jobs that a lot of companies are offering it free. So we're saying kids and young people, but listen, know that no age is too old for you to revamp and get you a career in technology. We need all of it. We need all of that. Kimberly, you have something you want to add to that?
Yes, ma'am. I think I'm going to start saying life learners
Yes.
from this point forward, because that
Yes.
applies
I
to
like that.
anyone who is interested in learning. And yes, I would agree, because the demand in technology, particularly, is so high that the opportunity in terms of that entry to barrier to entry, excuse me, has changed
Okay.
quite a bit. And so you still need to get some training, whether it's formal, a certificate, and things to that effect. But you can do those things, as Maven said, online, community colleges. There's a lot of not-for-profit organizations that are partnered with organizations to work people towards some immediate employment after. And I know in my UAS program, I have some students who are moving into their second and third careers. Very,
Okay.
very
What
much
is
so.
what is your UAS? Tell us what that is.
That is the drone program. So that's unmanned or uncrewed, as we are now moving away from manned and unmanned in order to be sensitive to the language that's often used in particular industries. But yeah, that's the aerial systems. It's the fancy way of saying drones. And what I teach is a certificate program to get you into the field, but you still have so much stuff to do even after this 5-course certificate program that allows people to enter the space, learn the safety, compliance, flight, maintenance, mapping, and all these pieces. Because what I tell students from day one, in this program, you're not going to be flying a drone in 2 or 3 years. The
Okay.
ability to use artificial intelligence, for example, is very applicable to how we see cars. They're able to fly autonomously, independent of you and I, manually flying. But someone's got to program them. Someone has to design them, test
True.
them, build them, repair them, and all those pieces. And so, what seems like one job opportunity that's lost may actually turn into 5 or 6 jobs very easily in terms of that same circle around a particular piece. But yeah, when we're looking at people who are entering into these again second and third careers for all kinds of reasons, the key foundational piece is the life learner. and their
Yeah.
ability to get ready to go. And that doesn't mean you have to have been taking a bunch of classes, but there's no time like today to start
Okay.
and to keep your brain as active as possible.
Liz, I have seen, now that I know about drones, you see some of the coolest adoptions of that technology and so many things. We got a brand new roof. We had the honor, God bless, of getting a brand new roof a couple months ago. And the gentleman that owned the company used his drone to take pictures of our roof before he started. He, took pictures throughout the day. He would stop by and pull his truck up and take pictures and just send them automatically to my husband and I. And then when everything was completed, took the pictures, which is what we then sent to our insurance company to say, hey, here's our new roof. Where is my discount for this new roof, right? So just the cool, you see it in so many more movies and that space now. So I think, again, getting these ideas in front of lifelong learners opens their eyes to something so brand new, because so much of it is still so cutting edge and developing and on the grow so quickly that, you could have been in a career field for 30 years and see something over in this technology space and go, I think when I retire from this other field, I don't want to sit down. I want to continue learning. This is something that I could be interested in. So I think I would be a really cool and great drone person. I personally, now,
Yes.
what would I be taking pictures of? I don't know, but we figured out it'd be something cute. But we
That is correct. Yeah, I mean, indoor, outdoor.
we figured out.
Yes, I could totally see you, and you would look really cute in your safety vests and things as well.
Oh yeah, because I'd have the whole gear. Listen, we're gonna make it cute. We're gonna do the work, but we're gonna make it cute.
Absolutely.
So here's what I want us to wrap up around. What do you see as what's on the horizon around technology? It could be drone space or AI, or what are some, you're involved in the college systems, the learning systems as a professor, but you're also a student in multiple places learning as well. What's that next kind of big batch of technology that people say they're not really thinking about it right now, but as a technologist, you're like, this is coming down the pike and it's going to be a real thing. Like, is metaverse going to be something widely adopted and that's really going to be part of our world? Or people still like, I don't know about that one.
I think that's a great question. My opinion would be a combination of the use of artificial intelligence in terms of AI, virtual reality.
Okay.
You look right there. You see my little Oculus back there under the drone
Uh-huh.
box. That's
Yes.
having these immersive experiences, some sense of augmented reality, which allows you to not just be in your environment, but for things, objects, people, sounds, maybe even moving over to sense.
Okay.
Touch and some other pieces will continue to develop in this
Okay.
immersive experience. One of my favorite stores to go to, I'm not a mall person for a million reasons, but when I do venture into a mall, I really like to go to the Lego store. They've got
Okay.
augmented reality in play. You can scan a box, if say it has 500 pieces or something, or 100 pieces
Okay.
of Legos. You got to put it together. You can scan this and you can see what it should look like all the
Oh
way
wow.
around the models, a 3D model of what the completed, a Lego kit should look like. I think that's really exciting, and what a great
Wow.
way to get not just kids, but because everybody, in terms of all age groups, I should say, love Legos. And as expensive they are, you kind of almost have to be an adult to play with Legos anyway. But
Right.
that, something that becomes our ability to have this meeting and in a different environment and not just a different background. I'm not
Right.
suggesting that, but literally your office would be virtual or your studio would be virtual. We both have on, these VR pieces and we would meet in that environment, although we would still be in our beautiful offices or home offices or
Right.
whatever that might look like. I think is where we're headed, and not for dare I say, not just for entertainment purposes. That's the easy
Okay.
part. That's the low hanging fruit, but more
Okay.
so related to training, the ability
Okay.
to have medical training, for example, where someone can practice drawing blood, um, you know, putting on a cast, performing surgery, things like that in this virtual environment will make for
Okay.
hopefully better patient safety, um, practicing search and rescue in a
Oh,
virtual environment. If we look at, you know, surveillance, just learning, there's a number of universities that now have um, a, a very comparable metaverse type, which is just a fancy way of saying it's in this virtual environment where you could take your classes on ground, online, or in that universe. That's pretty
oh
amazing use
wow.
of technology. So that's what I would say.
I love that. And my husband just sent me an article, I want to say just recently, about a spa that's being built. I forget, maybe it's Denver. And what they're dedicating a room to virtual reality experiences. This is like a $50 million project that they're building. And I was like, wow, like that virtual reality technology and how much it's going to keep growing. Like you said, you'll be able to get almost a full human experience, right? With
Mm-hmm.
sense and touch and all of these things is, I mean, to me, it's exciting. Now, of course, there's the scary parts of this, like how far is this going to go and where we're going. But the world will continue to evolve. We can be a part of that evolution, or we can sit back and be left out. But that's not going to stop it from happening. So, stay, embrace technology, especially the minority community. Embrace technology. It's here. It's going to keep happening,
Yes.
and we don't need to be left out of these experiences, especially in ways that we can contribute and learn and earn money, great income from those areas. So, Kimberly, thank you so much. I have a rapid fire question list that I'm going to give you that I did not tell you anything about on purpose. On purpose, but it's very easy breezy. I'm going to give you a couple of choices. You just tell me which one you prefer.
Okay.
So, if I gave you the option of meat, seafood, or veggies, what would you pick?
Seafood,
All right. Peanut butter and jelly or grilled cheese.
grilled cheese,
Okay. Zip lines or lounging by the pool.
zip line,
Zip lines. Reading a book or audiobook.
reading a book.
Yeah, okay. I'm saying I know you're a big reader, but I never hear you talking about the audiobook part. Nap or no nap.
No nap.
I was like, I never hear you talking about a nap, girl.
No
I'm
nap.
gonna have to bring you up on game about these naps, Kimberly. A digital planner or a paper planner.
Paper planner.
Paper planner. Look, she said, I got him. I already got him. Biggie or Tupac.
Tupac.
All right. Now I know this one is easy for you. Flats or sneakers.
Sneakers.
Sneakers, yeah. She's like she has every sneaker color variation that you would want. And then the last one, ice cream or cookies.
I'm gonna go with cookies.
Very good. Listen, see, painless, painless, painless. Listen, I thank you. I learned some more stuff about technology today. And this is why I love, our conversations when they are with champagne or not. Either way, we're going to get some learning in. It's always a good thing. So thank you so much for joining us and just sharing your knowledge again with Maven Nation and all of those that will be watching or just listening on audio. So Maven Nation, until next time, keep doing your BAM thing.